Hey mom, today was a normal day at school, but it kept circling back to the idea of inheritance. Not inheritance as money, property, or status, but inheritance as the transfer of behaviors, norms, and the habits of mind that make civilized life possible. In this context, inheritance is the process by which each generation learns how to live inside an ordered system. It's not automatic, guaranteed, or self-sustaining. Civilization doesn't get handed down intact. What gets passed on is a set of fragile practices that must be learned, internalized, and reinforced again and again. Sitting with that idea made it clear that civilized life depends on learned behavior rather than instinct. Cooperation, patience, rule following, respect for shared space, and responsibility toward others all run counter to many default human impulses. Left alone, people do not naturally converge on these behaviors at scale. They require repetition, modeling, and consequence. Inheritance, then, is less about preserving outcomes and more about preserving the conditions that make good outcomes possible. A society can appear stable while quietly losing the habits that produce that stability in the first place. That realization sharpens how fragile civilized norms really are. Many of the behaviors that keep society functioning feel obvious only because they're familiar. Waiting your turn, honoring agreements, respecting authority when it's legitimate, and restraining short-term self-interest are all norms that feel invisible when they're working. But they're not permanent features of human behavior. They exist only because they're actively reinforced. When reinforcement weakens, deterioration rarely looks dramatic at first. It shows up as toleration for small violations, inconsistent enforcement, and the quiet lowering of expectations. Over time, those small concessions compound. Disorder doesn't arrive suddenly, it seeps in through neglected standards. This is where history starts to feel less like a distant record and more like a repeating pattern. Civilizations don't collapse because people forget historical facts. They collapse because human nature remains constant while cultural maintenance falters. The behaviors that sustain order stop being taught with seriousness, and the assumption creeps in that this is just how things are. Inheritance breaks down not through malice, but through complacency. The past keeps resurfacing because the same conditions keep being recreated. School, viewed through this lens, looks very different. It's not primarily a place where knowledge is transferred. It's a primary inheritance mechanism. Long before students understand abstract ideas about society, they're learning how systems work by living inside one. They learn whether rules are real or negotiable, whether effort matters, whether consistency exists, and whether shared expectations are enforced. These lessons are absorbed implicitly through experience, not explanation. A classroom becomes a small-scale civilization where the next generation rehearses how to live among others. This perspective removes the illusion that civilization sustains itself once it reaches a certain level of success. Stability is not a permanent achievement. It's a temporary condition maintained through ongoing effort. What pulls a society toward order is not inherited wealth or technology, but inherited habits. I ate a cow soy beef velvet at the market for dinner, and that was it for my day. Okay, love you. Bye.